All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Hillary, and today we're going to give a little overview of the TMF. And this will kind of give a highlight of kind of the whole Power of Work program, from just some basic knowledge to what we do, to the TMF reference model and kind of how to access, how to use it, and then our practice project, and then kind of next steps after you complete the practice project and kind of landing yourself a job in the TMF. So I'm mainly going to speak. I have a couple slides I can show too, but I'll also be just pulling up different trackers. But let's get to the main thing here. So we can go over what is the TMF. As we talked about, essential documents, reference model, practice is what you're looking for in a document, and then also go into the practice project. So high level, and you can read the slides. I'll send the slides later too, but basically the TMF is your overview of documents that are collected during a clinical trial, right? So a company, which is usually called a sponsor, is sponsoring, and as in funding, and organizing a clinical trial to have a goal, typically of testing a medication that they own in people to make sure that it's worth selling and worth trying to get FDA or different regulatory approvals. And they have to show that it's safe and that it's effective, that it actually works. We can go deeper into the different phases of a clinical trial, and we can do that at a different time. But then basically, it's just a big collection of documents. So making sure that everything that happens in the study gets documented somewhere to prove that it happened, and that it happened in a very safe and controlled manner. So a job of somebody who's trying to get into Trial Master File in terms of the maintenance of it, you are looking at these documents and processing these documents and making them readily available for people to use during the clinical trial. And then you want to make sure that the documents are inspection ready, which happens, and inspection happens at the end of the clinical trial. And so that's just the overall goal, right? We're trying to maintain patient safety and their rights, and to prove that via the documentation. And I'll talk a little bit about what you're looking for. There's different regulations like ICH E6R2, which we can, and we probably should maybe next week have a presentation on that. And then here are different types of documents that are in the clinical trial. So they're usually broken into kind of 3 different categories: before, during, and after. And but there's no set real regulations on a lot of things. It's kind of up to the company to manage this, and they just have to prove in general that this is done properly, right? So like some people say that there's like accountability logs and things, and that doesn't really have to be collected till the end of the trial. But for example, if you're proving that you're running your clinical trial in a very professional and safe manner, and you have a good understanding of what's happening in your trial, you probably should have those logs periodically, so that you can prove that you have been looking at them, right? If you just collect them at the end, then you're not really proving that you are utilizing them, right? So that's just a small example. We can go over all the different types of documents, and this is just a small sample of the kind of the key documents. There's lots and lots of different documents, and the job is to look and understand these documents, but make sure that there's nothing missing on them, right? And so we'll talk into about the standards. And again, you can dive into this slide. I'm just going to high level talk about overall, you're trying to make sure that the document is complete, making sure that, as it says here, all the pages are there. If there's any missing signatures, making sure that that's understood, and trying to capture any missing signatures. And this term Alcoa C is kind of just the guidance for those who are working on TMF. But we'll just go over how to kind of make sure a document is correct. So to do this, I wanted to jump into the reference model, and I'll show you an actual our reference model. Again, this is a guide. You can organize however you want. It's basically a filing structure, and it matters per company, right? So different companies, and you should, it's actually important that you take kind of this template and edit it to show that you actually did some work on it and to show that you actually applied it specifically to your company. So with that, I wanted to go into, this is our TMF reference model here, and you can get the template. There's a group of people who organize this, right? So it's free. It's readily used in the industry. You don't have to like pay for it, but it's kind of just this organizational aspect of how you file the documents. So if you think about it, back in the day, it used to physically be like a big filing cabinet, and in there would be lots of different folders and like subfolders. And so you can think of the zone as kind of like this, maybe even the drawer, right? Like the whole entire drawer is a zone, if it's a large study. And then within them, you might have folders, which is kind of like your different sections. And then inside, you have like your artifact number and with the name, artifact name, and that would be like the subfolder, right? So it's kind of like 3 levels. And so as we can see here in the blue, and then there's more additional details about like what you can find in them. And you have like a definition of it. And then companies are supposed to fill out their naming convention. How do they want this to be named so it's consistent and it's easy to find, right? Part of the inspection readiness aspect is making sure that these documents are easily found in an inspection. So an inspector will come in and say, hey, I want to see this specific document. And the idea is that you can find it quickly, because if you can't find it quickly, that means that you're not regularly using your system and that you're not kind of using your documents to help manage your trial. So it kind of shows as a red flag for your overall management if you can't find a document quickly, right? And then what we've done is we've actually pulled up sample documents. So I'm going to go to a different section that I think is going to be more exciting. So usually it's kind of your zone 5 is more related to like your site management, which is where a lot of the documents come from. And so we can even pull this one up too, but there's this financial disclosure form, which is a typical form that is, done. Each site does this, and each person on the study is working on this and saying that, you know what, I don't have any financial thing to disclose. I don't own part of this company. I don't own part of this drug, or I've not invested in it. And it's just kind of like this form that is required by the FDA to show that everyone's doing this with true intent. They're just trying to they're running the study not for their own profit, but to help people and to help science, right? And so people on the study is an important document that the FDA wants everyone to fill out. And so we could scroll over here, click on this, and hopefully this works. And this is an example of the document. It loads, yep. And then you can see that this is a document, and you would have it filled out by the sponsor name, which could be whatever the company that owns the drug, the drug, and then the protocol number. And then it's filled out by who is the main investigator, right? The main head doctor running the study at where it's being run, which is usually called the site. So it could be like Stanford University or Harvard University, or like the Mayo Clinic. Like large institutions usually are largely involved in clinical trials. And then in addition to that, it needs to be filled out by each person, right? The sub-investigator. So there's usually one principal investigator and multiple sub-investigators. And so then here you just basically check the boxes saying, you know what, no, I am not, I have not done this, and I am not financially, I have no arrangements. I'm not going to get profit off of this. I'm doing this, to help science, right? And then they need to sign and date it. Now, what you're checking is if the signature and the date are present. And if it's checked, right? If nothing's checked here, that would not be a complete document. And if the signature is missing, that would not be a complete document. And see how it says page 1 of 1? If it said page 1 of 2 and there was no second page, you'd be concerned. Now in this one, we know it's a 1-page document, so it's not, we don't expect a second page. But that's kind of the process of looking over a document and making sure it's good. And then if you were doing this within a system, any TMF system such as Viva, you would enter the information. So for example, the naming convention, you would enter whatever company that you work for, and they have a specific thing where we want to say, we want to put the artifact number and then the name of the artifact name, and then, who's signing it, what site number. They kind of choose what order and how they want it done. And that's what you would use the tool if you were to get a job and you needed to work and follow this document to file the document into the system. So that's kind of the overall, a very quick high level of the TMF reference model. And then we'll jump into the practice project. So ideally, the overall goal of Power of Work is to help people get TMF jobs. Now, we are looking to partner with companies that do TMF work and are willing to take people who are a little bit less experienced because they have the knowledge, right? Hopefully, we will train you and have you give you the ability to really know the TMF, right? Not only the basics, but in addition, the regulations and just how to be really good at the TMF. And then we'll have the practice project, which will help you go through and actually review documents and kind of enter in the metadata. And then we'll also have trainings on different systems and to get you really up to speed on like the work and how you would enter in and navigate an eTMF system. And then we can try to maybe, like, let's say we haven't developed it yet, but have like a kind of a robust final exam that you can take. And then we would give you like a certification, say like, in the eyes of Power of Work, you are good and ready to do TMF work. And then we can help you find a job and we can apply you to jobs throughout the industry. But what we're also hoping to do is to kind of partner with certain companies that are aware of the kind of the limited experience but high knowledge that you have in TMF and help you get a job. So for example, we'll have Sentinel Consulting company, which is something that we're hoping to develop a partnership with them so that they would be able to hire anyone in Power of Work who performs well. And, we'd help you interview prep and everything. And then you'd be able to kind of start like an internship with them where they can then evaluate like how good you actually are and how good you are at reviewing documents and quality and speed. And so to do this, one way that we've thought to get you ready for that is to have an internship program in the sense of a practice project. So you can get access to this document. And this is ideally after you've done the training and you feel ready to do the work, right? And so you open up a folder and this shows you 3 sample sites we have. And then I'll go back to the document. And then you'll open up a template tracker. And then your task is to basically what we talked about when we were looking at that the financial disclosure form. You're supposed to look through the document and decide if you think it's complete, if you think it meets all of the Alcoa C standards, and then you make any note of any issues. And then you also do kind of like a data entry aspect of it. Here, we're just going to have you do it in this tracker. And I'll pull it up too, but this is a blank tracker. When you do this, keep in mind that this is the tracker that pulls from the form. You should save your own tracker and put your name, and that way later you can share it with us and we can review your tracker, give you feedback, and try to help you learn and grow. But basically you will be putting in the document name, and then the document title, and trying to learn and practice using the TMF reference model, right? So what we're just doing here is you'd go back and you look at the artifact number, artifact name, and then you'd start to get used to entering in the data and learning how to QC and basically process documents, right? In a real world situation, you would be doing a very small percentage of a chance that you just use an Excel, but usually you'd be using an actual TMF system and you'd be entering the data directly into the system. Whereas here, just to have it cleaner and able for us to grade, we'll have it in an Excel tracker. But make sure you save your tracker as your own name, and don't type on this template, okay? And then that's basically it. You follow the instructions and you fill out different aspects of it. And then and you try to see it, if you think that anything's wrong with it. And then if you think it's good, you enter your name and your date, and you kind of are like signing off that I believe this form to be ready to go. And that is a quick overview on the practice project. Does anyone have any questions on that?
Yeah, hello, hi, Harry and Zen. I think I've been taught to Zen before regarding how to start to do the practice project. So the problem what I face right now is when I open my folder, which is the Bruno project.
Yeah.
There's a tons different kind of document. So and then show me one for the 1072 form, like how to QC the form. Make sure all the boxes are checked, make sure the date, the signature is there. But as far as the other document, I have no clue. Like I think my key question is how to QC each different document.
Yes. And so to do that, you should ideally, and we'll go over things. That's a great question. And it helps us know how we can help train you to go through this. But the best way to be really good at the TMF is to know each document. So I would say go through and look at each thing here, and there's a link to a document, right?
Oh, okay.
And on each one, there's notes on what to look for, right? Now, this is just one of the, like right here, site setup. See how there's multiple documents that could live in this folder? Okay. And this link will just have one. We do have a document library where we have tried to put in a lot of documents, but if you go, let me go back to thing. And if you go into the folder, and if we go to Bruno, the idea is that you want to look and be able to QC all the documents, right? And so all of these things you need to look through and apply the Alcoa C standards, right? Which we had here. So you're trying to look through and take each document and ask all of these questions for each document. Do you think this is correct? Like, who created the document? When was it created? Like, you're kind of like looking through and trying to understand the history and understand the document. And it'll get easier as time, because most of the documents repeat, right? Most of the documents are the same type of document for each site. And that's why we kind of start you off with the site level, because that's kind of the easiest to learn.
Right.
But you basically take each document and QC it per the Alcoa C standards. And yeah, and we can make a note. Maybe we can add a link in the practice project to maybe some like TMF tips, and maybe we can put the Alcoa C there. So basically go through each document, use a different Word document that has like tips and how to QC. And then you use that to guide you through QCing each document and entering it into the tracker. So here's a template. So each document, like that first one, you put here, and the second one you put here. So you should fill this all up in a sense.
Got it.
That makes sense?
Yeah, got it.
Cool.
Okay.
And I think the idea is that having the practice project helps give you a guide of where you want to be eventually, but it's okay if you're not there yet, right? We have our online training portal, which we give access to when we feel like people are ready for it. I mean, I know you have access already, Ken. So dive through all those trainings, and those trainings should also help you to learn how to QC, right?
Okay, got it.
Awesome.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. Any other questions?